Hello, everyone. My name is BENV. I'm a musician as well as a fan of TV and movies. And I just got done watching The Last Airbender remake that was on Netflix. The Last Airbender TV show, I rewatched that before watching this remake. I would say it's probably my favorite show ever made. It's definitely my favorite animated show ever made. You know, I would say it's the best show that's ever came out on Nickelodeon, right? And with that being said, I definitely don't think that this remake was anywhere near as bad as the M. Night Shyamalan 2010 one with Ong, and Sokka and shit. But it's not as good as what I would like it to be. It's about as good as I expected. I'll go ahead and get into this. Like for one thing, the way I describe how I feel about the show is like it's like a parent who isn't mad, just disappointed. Like this is the definition of a mixed bag. Like I think the characters were pretty much nailed in some aspects. Like I think the person who played Katara did a great job. The guy who played Sokka, like that's Sokka. The guy who played Aang, the whoever that kid is, did a terrific job. I'll have to look up his name. Especially the guy who played Iroh did an excellent job. You know, uh, I would say the person who probably was the most like the original character was the guy who played Zhao. Like that guy, he really had that Zhao character down. I know a lot of people are saying they like the adaptation of Zuko. I don't. I don't know if it's just the writing of the show or what, but I think they made him a little bit too whiny. And in the original, he was whiny, but not like that level. And I think they made him a little bit more incompetent than he actually was. One of the cool things about that show is while Zuko had a tough time, he wasn't stupid. He was very intelligent and methodical, and that's why he was such a threat. Um, like primarily, these are the good parts of the show, right? Like I said, for one thing, they did a good job with adapting a lot of these characters, right? The set pieces are terrific. It looks like when you think of, all right, what would this look like if it was in real life? They did it. Like especially Appa looked great. Uh, what else do I think? I thought they did a good job with. Uh-oh. kind of run. Oh, first couple episodes, yeah. The first couple episodes were really strong. Like I would say frankly, episode 1 and 2 were 10 out of 10s. If the other 6 episodes were as good as the first two, it would be a perfect show. But that's not what we got. I feel like episode 3 it started to dip, and then 4 and 5 just they were just not good. Just frankly not good. Then it really picked back up in 6, and I thought 7 and 8 for the most part were great. I can see now as to why the original creators of the show stepped down from working on the show with Netflix, because you can see the creative changes that they made, and most of them were not good. And I find it funny that some of the best episodes, which was episode 1 and episode 6, they were the one that the original writers had a hand in, and so that makes a lot of sense. Another aspect that I will mention, the show is funny. Like, I don't think it's quite on the same level as what the original was, where the original show, one of the things that was, like, one of the best aspects of it is it perfectly combined comedy with action, and it knew when to not be funny. And it perfectly mixed all those elements. The only show I can think of that did it as good would be My Hero Academia, at least the first few seasons of My Hero, right? But with that being said, I don't think that the comedy and the action are quite as evenly mixed in this new show. I think they did a plenty good job. I thought it was funny. I know some people don't like the kind of dry humor of, oh, there's this thing, sarcastic, comeback, there's this, but the original show was like that. So I don't think that's a problem. I know some people criticize that. I don't have an issue with that. Where I think the show really suffered, though, is like the misdirection, especially towards the middle, where some of the characters, I feel like they mixed them at unnecessary times. Like what was Boomy? I still don't understand what his thing was. It made no sense. It was just weird. They threw the hippie characters in for like no reason. Jet, I feel like, came and went, right? And I think they treated Jet better than they did the other characters. And the guy who played him, like that definitely was Jet. He did a good job with that. You know, the thing I also don't like about the show is it didn't feel like an adaptation as much as it felt like, hey, remember this in the original show? There was a lot of those kind of moments where they would say things that were in the original show where it's like, okay, it worked in the original show because it was made for that. This is just taking those same words and putting them in a live action setting in a different time, and it doesn't work. Like with also that being said, there's too much inconsistency. Like that'd be a good word for a lot of these problems, is inconsistency, where it seems like they didn't always know what they were trying to do. Where there's some sections of it where they're like, oh yeah, no, we're doing our own thing. It's our own direction. And most of the time, whenever they did their own thing, I don't think it worked. Sometimes it did. Sometimes it did. Uh, but with that being said, then there'd be other times where they're saying like, no, this is an exact recreation of the original show. But it seems like they weren't deciding which one they wanted to be. They didn't know, like, okay, are we going to be like the Lion King remake where it is shot for shot the same movie? Or are we gonna like do our own thing here, And I don't think the critique people have saying that it's kind of like Game of Thrones, because that's what the writer said it was like, and that worried a lot of people. I don't think that it being more like Game of Thrones is a bad thing, frankly. I just don't like the fact that it didn't really add anything. Like the guy who, I will say this, I like what they did with Ozai in this. That is one of the few changes that not only do I like it, I like it more than the original show. They gave Ozai more to do here, and they really showed his brutality, right? And speaking of brutality, that's the other aspect of the show that I think is unique, is the fact of, because the original show was on Nickelodeon, it was a kid show. It was well known that, yeah, the Fire Nation was violent and they were killing people, and they said that they were killing people, but they could never show it. In this, no, they show it. They show people getting burned alive, and eviscerated, and people, all kinds of messed up shit like that. And they show not just Iroh looking away as Zuko gets burned. No, they show Zuko getting burned, which, by the way, they did not. One of the best episodes of the show was The Storm. They did not handle that right. The way they did, like, the flashbacks and the previously this happened setups, what wasn't good. I liked the way they did it in the original more. Like, what I don't understand with the show is, even though, yes, it has the same amount of minutes as the original first season, because they're doing this, all this compaction of only 8 episodes, it doesn't work the same as if it was 20 episodes. And I feel like, no, we didn't need the Bato episode that was kind of, that made Aang out of character. We definitely didn't need like the episode with the canyon, we didn't need that. But why couldn't it just be 18 episodes that are 20 minutes long that shows what they're doing here, except it's more spaced out and things, characters get more breathing room. It can't be an issue of, oh, well, they didn't have enough money for that. It's like, well, they had enough money for all these great set pieces and to throw all these random characters in that didn't need to be in, so that doesn't really make any sense, Like the Spirit World section, I just thought was stupid. I'm sorry, it didn't make any sense. I don't like that the way that they changed that, and the way they did, like, one of the coolest characters of the Spirit World, which is Ko. They messed him up, and they threw the owl guy in for like no reason whatsoever. Oh, by the way, I should say right now, spoilers. So if you don't want to get spoiled, don't listen to what I'm saying. I guess go watch the original show. And it definitely picks back up towards the end. I thought the end was very strong. I think there was still a lot of stuff that didn't quite make any sense. Like, I didn't like what they did with the water avatar guy, Kuruk. I thought that was pointless, and it's because they had to do something different because they already showed Ko, and I don't like, there was some stuff where it seems like they clearly took it out of Korra and put it in there, which they shouldn't have done, because Korra was okay, and that's exactly how I think this last Airbender remake was. It was just okay. Like, I'll give it a more than that. I would give it like a 6.5 out of 10. There were some sections there where I was like, holy shit, they did it. They made a live action Avatar that is excellent. And then there's other parts like, I think we should just skip this. Like, and it's the inconsistency. That's the ultimate things that ruin it. There's some parts where it's boring and there's just too much exposition, which makes no sense. Like, the reason why the original Avatar, M. Night Shyamalan, had so much exposition is because they tried to cram a 20 episode series into over 2 hours of movie, which obviously didn't work. So they had to constantly explain everything. Well, this is 8 episodes, and they're all like an hour long, so they didn't need to do that, but they just did it anyways, and they did it needlessly, and they added a background to people that didn't need a background. The one time where I think I actually really liked it is what they did with Zuko and the lieutenant, where Ozai, or not Ozai, Iroh explains to him, he's like, hey, the only reason you're alive is because he got burned for you, and you are the ship that was going to be sacrificed, That I did like. But, and I like how they all bowed to him, like, hey man, I respect what you did. Other than that, I don't like any of the changes that they made. The thing that I didn't like was a lot of their wardrobes, and the fact of, I mean, whenever they say remake, they weren't kidding on that aspect. I mean, every color, every piece of clothing, everything that was in the first season that they were wearing directly is on the screen, which doesn't work for the fact of that was an animated show and this is live action with a lot of CGI. Like, it makes some characters look like they're wearing Halloween costumes. Like, that blue spirit mask, it did not look good. That's one thing from that original movie that I actually did like, is they made the blue spirit mask look good. In this, it looks like a piece of plastic, and it just looks dumb. And in the show, it was supposed to look like something that was kind of well made, And it would have to, because whenever it got hit by that arrow, I don't think it broke, And, like, another aspect that I don't like is that just needlessly adding some people. Like, there was no need to add Azula yet. They didn't give her anything to do. Anytime she was on the screen, I felt like it was just pointless. And I do like that they showed how, even though she is this girl who's a perfectionist and she kicks a lot of ass, she is kind of slipping, she's cracking, and she's falling under the weight of expectation, and you're going to see, as the show progresses, her crumble, and I do like that, But in terms of, like, inconsistency with the show, another big issue I have is the bending. It seems like they had 3 different people directing the bending and doing the fight choreography, where sometimes it looks very like Kung Fu movie John Wick kind of, but then there's other points where it looks like it's directly from the show, especially early on. It seemed like there was more bending, right? And that I didn't like either, where, like the part where Zuko is fighting Zhao, it's like 2 fireball blasts maybe, and the rest is them fighting each other. They're well, obviously fighting, but them, like, punching each other and shit like that, And I assume that has a lot to do with, like, the lackluster budget, something along those lines. But it really takes you out of the element, where you're watching one episode where these guys are like master benders and they're shooting all these fireballs and shit, and then there's another time where they're like karate chopping each other, and it's like the next episode that didn't work. I also didn't like the fact of, one of the cooler aspects of that show, and what really made the world seem interesting, is the animal conglomerates, where it'll be like a polar bear dog, or platypus bear, shit like that. But in this, that they really downplayed that. Like, they would occasionally show, like, hey, here's like what was that one bird? Here, it was like a chicken horse, yeah. Here's a chicken horse, and here's a 2-winged penguin or something, but it was very few and far between, and it's because they didn't have enough money to show shit like that, So, and even then, I think that's kind of nitpicking a little bit, because it's not like they didn't show it at all, and it wasn't like a main theme of the original show, but it is something that kind of affects the world, where whenever they're constantly talking about these animals, where he's like, yeah, this man is like a glowfly, this guy is like a yada yada, where they're constantly bringing up all these animal conglomerates, but they're barely ever showing them, that did take me out of it a bit. One aspect that I also think that they did nail was Appa and Momo. They look excellent. Like, the Momo in this acts just like the real flying lemur monkey does, and every time I saw Appa saving them, I always thought of, like, Falcor from Neverending Story, just like, fucking Appa, Falcor, I thought it was dope, where he'd fly around and shit, and he looks amazing, and But yeah, that's what I thought of the show. There were definitely cool moments with it. I want there to be a season two. I think if they stick more towards what the Earth Kingdom kind of stuff was in season two, I think it'd be better suited to what they were going for in the live action, because it is a little bit more tied together. It's a little bit more tight knit, and there's more of like a espionage kind of thing going on. It's very like secret society spy thriller shit, which I think will work for what they're trying to make. But it's not gonna save them in season three. But I'm definitely, whatever they come out with, I'm gonna continue watching it. And I would say, I don't know who exactly this is for, because I would say, if you're an Avatar fan, watch this. But I don't really think it's quite scratching that itch. But if you're not a Last Airbender fan, I don't know how much you'd like it either. I you know I would just say that if you have a Netflix account and you've got nothing else to watch, give it a watch, because you're not going to have a bad time. It's a 6.5 out of 10. It's trying to be a good show. It just couldn't quite stick the landing. But yeah, that was my thoughts. Tell me what you think in the comments, and I'll be making more videos like this very soon. Oh, by the way, before I get off, if you guys want to listen to any of my music, you can check out my main channel. I'm also on 35 other streaming services. I'm a rapper, a guitarist, I sing, I do it all. So also check out my main channel, where the music is the focus of that channel, where you can find me playing guitar, all kinds of shit, anything like that. So yeah, if you want, check that out.